I'm Amy, thank you for tuning in. I feel like at this point I come on every wrap up to say that I haven't read many books, and this month is no different. I haven't read many books again. I think this year has definitely been more about writing for me, and I've been super busy working on 3 different projects. So reading's just definitely taken a back seat. But that being said, I've read some really great books this month and I've done some great things. So in October I went to MCM, which was super fun. It's the second time I've been there as an author, and we got to do a panel for A Taste of Darkness. That was great. I also got to do a signing with my lovely friend Cynthia Murphy, who also has a story in the anthology. And also I was a guest bookseller on Bookshop Day at Drake Bookshop, which was super lovely. I've never used a till before, so that was a new experience for me. So October, as you can see, was pretty busy in terms of events, busy in terms of writing and editing, and then I read a few books too. So let's get to the books. First, I read the first in the series, the Lily Bard series by Charlaine Harris. The past couple of years I've been trying to read all of Charlaine Harris's books just because I love them. They're somehow relaxing to me. They are very charming and cozy. There's always a kind of strong female lead character. This one who has had some really bad things happen to her, and she's kind of come out of it fighting and come out of it wanting to be able to defend herself, so she takes martial arts lessons. And there's always generally in Charlaine Harris's books, there's usually a mystery to solve, and this one has an intriguing murder mystery. I love the way Charlaine Harris writes. I think I'm going to really enjoy this series, and this was a good start. I'm just checking that this is indeed, yes, this is the first book. I've got the whole set of them. I read this on my Kindle, so I didn't read the physical copy. This one was a real surprise for me. I read and really enjoyed My Roommate is a Vampire. I did expect to enjoy it, but I thought it was a YA book. I don't know whether it was the cover or something that made me just assume it was YA, but it actually ended up being an adult romance, and that took me by a pleasant surprise. I really liked the main character and how the author described the sort of point in her life that she's in her 30s, so it felt very relatable. I really liked the male character. He's kind of Mr. Darcy but with fangs. The vampire has been asleep due to factors that you'll find out in the book for quite some time. So he's not au fait with modern society. So it was like those sorts of stories, like a Thor kind of thing. What? Where he finds himself in an unfamiliar world. And I really like the fact with this one that there's some little bits of mixed media too that I didn't expect. And I'll let you read the book to find out what they are. But I highly recommend this one. If you like romance, if you like vampire books, this is really, really well done. Next up, because it was October, I read something spooky. I went for Channel Fear by Lisa Richardson. This was an early copy Chicken House sent me. Thank you very much for that. I've really enjoyed haunted house stories lately where you don't know whether you're dealing with a ghost or something with a more everyday explanation. This book did that really well. It is very creepy and atmospheric. I loved the house setting, and there was some kind of interesting interactions between the characters too that I enjoyed in terms of the dialogue, in terms of quite a complex relationship. So this was definitely a fun one if you are into your YA ghosty books, or not ghosty, is it? ... And speaking of ghosty books, I read another really great one. 12 Bones is the sequel to 16 Souls by Rosie Talbot. I love 16 Souls, but I have to say I think I enjoyed this one even more. I really liked the gruesome murder direction that this book took. I thought that it delved deeper into the mythology of the world, which I always appreciate in a sequel. I really liked how the characters developed, and we got to see kind of different layers. And I have to admit, Rosie, you made me cry very near the end of the book. You know what you did, I'm sure. But it was very moving, very well done. I think it's a duology, but I hope there is going to be more set in this world. And next I read The Vampires of El Norte. This was a book where I completely got the wrong end of the stick what it was about. So I thought this was going to be a vampire book with a lot of Western elements and kind of like the American West, frontier, society, etc. And then a little bit of romance, and actually ended up being romance, a little bit of vampires and a lot of the American West. I really love Western, so I loved that angle of it. I thought the vampires were very well done. It kind of felt like a little bit of a new addition to vampire lore. Like there were new dimensions to these vampires that I really liked, and I liked the way they featured in the book. I'm wording it carefully so as not to spoil. I just wish there'd been a few more vampires. I think the title just kind of sold it to me that this was going to be a horror and there were going to be lots of vampires. The vampire elements are quite few and far between, and the romance is very much the focus. So if that is your thing, I would highly recommend. The romance is excellent. I loved these characters. The dialogue is great in this book. I think that the kind of minor characters and the surrounding characters are really well done too. But for me, I just wanted a little bit more of the vampires and the horror and a little bit less of the romance, but that's just personal taste. I think this is a great book. Next up, having to find my Kindle, because the next thing I read was the Creature feature on Kindle. Was something that came out, 6 titles by a lot of authors that you will have heard of, some that I hadn't heard of. So it's a really great opportunity to test out different horror writers and see what you think, because all of them are really short. They're all novellas. And I read them over a few nights where I was quite busy and didn't really want to read a novel. It was quite cool to be able to read a story over a night or two and feel very satisfied. So I'm just looking, because I read these sort of halfway through the month and can't remember being that we're midway through the November as I'm recording this. It's hard to say which is my favourite of the stories, because different things appeal to me about different ones. Joe Hill's Pram absolutely and completely creeped me out. I love Joe Hill's writing, and it kind of tapped into something that I personally find very creepy and quite upsetting, to do with kind of having children and things like that. So because it tapped into something that I find scary and that is sort of a personal fear about like stuff happening to a child, I thought it was well done. There was also another horror element to it that I won't mention because it's a spoiler, but it was one that I really enjoy, so I thought that was a great choice. Grady Hendrix, they're called Ankle Snatcher, Ankle Biter, I can't see it on my Kindle, Ankle Snatcher. I thought was good. It was kind of an urban legend style story about this creature, the Ankle Snatcher. I did enjoy this one. For some reason I'm not finding it super memorable, but I always enjoy Grady Hendrix's stuff. Josh Malerman's story, I haven't read anything by him before, and I found this one very intriguing. It's called It Waits in the Woods, and it's about a girl whose sister is missing and she decides to go and look for her in the woods. I really like the fact that she went really well prepared. I think that often in these things, like, people just rock up in a kind of a camping survival type situation, expect that they don't need kit and gear. I really appreciated that she did. And I thought that this was kind of a fresh slant on the missing girl, a different twist to the tale. I liked it. I thought that the creature element of it was really good as well. Paul Tremblay's In Bloom wasn't my favourite, just because I'm not a huge fan of eco horror, because it really scares me, and I know that's the point of horror, but eco horror scares me to the point where I'm terrified that the events of the books are going to happen. So I tend to not enjoy them as much because they mess with me more than I want to be messed with. So just a personal preference thing, but I thought that this story was really inventive, and the blooms in question, I hope they're not real, because it's terrifying. If they're based on anything remotely real, then it's terrifying. I'm pretty sure they're not, but who knows at this point. Best of Luck was quite short and creepy. This one was by, just looking to the author page, this one was by Jason Mott, again an author I've not come across, but I really liked this. It was kind of I don't know, like a sort of short, sharp shock of a book. It was really pacey. There were only a couple of characters in it, and the interactions between them and the things that went back and forth was so fascinating. I really liked it. The last one, Big Bad, by Chandler Baker, another new author to me, and one that I will check out, because this was a sort of new take on a werewolf story, and I really like the fact there was a family in it. I think quite often in horror, I don't know this because I read mostly YA horror, but you don't get to see family dynamics that much, and this was a case where I was afraid for the children, but I wasn't so afraid that it ruined my enjoyment as kind of a trigger point for me of something I don't like that much. So this book kind of set the balance really nicely between being afraid but not being so afraid that I didn't enjoy myself. So that is it. Not a huge reading month, but some really, really good books in there. So thank you so much for watching. Please let me know in the comments if you've read any of those books, if you're interested in anything that I said. If you want to chat about any of the events I've been to, I'd love to hear from you. And as always, likes and subscribes are really appreciated, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.